Radio is brought to you by Letsynthesize Academy, the #1 place for practice-oriented courses for serious music producers.
Yo, there Larson here, welcome to the newest Synthesize Sunday episode. And today I want to talk about how I merge vocal with basses in our new song, Harness the Force, like this. Because if you didn't know, I'm part of Anatomics and we just released this new EP called Feeding the Immortal. And I'm so cool because I made you a noisier style drum bass masterclass. Click here if you want to check it and download the sounds that I'm going to present soon from my Patreon below. But right now, let's jump into it. Yo, so we used this vocal in the beginning of the song.
Take a step back in line, data sets we combine, the power comes from moonshine.
And I wanted to have a little twist in the beginning or in the middle of the drop, you know, combining bass sound with the vocals to just confuse the listener, not being able to decide what it is, a bass or a vocal. So in the beginning of the drop, this is what I came up with. So the first thing was to affect or process the vocals, because on itself it sounds like this. The vocal chain is quite intense. Without those, it sounds like this. So I tuned the vocal to the key of the song that was in F, and I tweaked the format using Vocal Bender from Waves. Okay, then I added an amp to make it really in the face, sounding in the face. Okay, then we needed the chorus. A bit warmer preset. And the Redux. Now, this is an interesting thing. I wanted to add a little more fur on top of the vocals. So let me show it to you how it looks. So you can see these little peaks. So this is what the Redux does, because if I increase it, it's just too much. So some little error sound on the tops of the vocals, just it's a great benefit, I guess. So after that, I had to use an EQ to chop off the lows that, you know, the amp generated, and very, very close, but we still hear some effect from the Redux. You can clearly see it here. So it's just a nice touch to it. Then we needed some compression and an echo and a de-esser and EQ again and the limiter to the end. So this is how I process the vocals, because the key takeaway from this is to fine-tune or process the vocals to the tone of the bass sound. And this is the bass sound. And it was a loop from my very old sample pack, sounding like this. So this sounds really close to the vocals that we just processed. And altogether, it would have been a little better to have the click, so the transient of the bass, so I'm talking about this part, to match it with the word from the vocals. Harness the force. But anyway, it sounds still great in my opinion. That you know, the blend between the two stuff is, I guess, to me it sounds great. Okay, I also had to follow the pitch movement of the vocals with the bass, so this is why I added this little transposition. Because if I clear it, so it doesn't have a harness the force or something like that. And this is what I wanted to achieve with this pitch automation inside the clip. That is actually important. So I haven't invented this stuff, because before me, Skrillex did the same thing with the Try It Out song. Okay. So the first half, the oh is the vocal, but the second part is just a simple bass sound. So it's nothing special, it's just a really well matched and I would say merged and fused vocal and bass sound all together. but I guess my instance sounds really great too. Okay, so how I made the bass sound? I guess it is not that complicated. Custom wavetable with the mirror mode and the bench drag filter. And the process is minimal, but the LFO 2 is what makes the rhythm for the bass. And it drags the filter, the bench drag filter. And after that I use the Letsynthesize fat track and the gate to get rid of the noise that it generated, so the OTT compressed tail, some reverb, we don't even need the EQ. And the second one is basically the same thing, one oscillator, because the second one is just some extra color to it. Yeah, the B one, oscillator B is the main oscillator. And as you can see, the warping modes are all bands, and the bench drag filter, the band pass filter with some drive, with some feedback, sounds really great on this bass. And some effects, especially the bench drag filter, that makes it really aggressive. And once again, what you have to do is, when you have this great bass sound, you need to match the vocals, the tone of the vocal to the bass. Or of course you can do the opposite, so match the bass to the vocal. But to me, honestly, it was a little easier to do because, you know, just playing with the formant. I guess it's easier because most of the times the basses have some really nice deep tone, deep formant, and you know, just tweaking the vocals, tweaking the format of the vocals is a lot easier to finding the sweet spot. Right, okay, so grab the sound from my Patreon below with tons of other stuff and check my academy for cool start to finish courses. See you guys next time. Peace.